Well, hello and welcome to This Week in Gwent, a weekly show in which we talk everything Gwent. I am joined by the Salty Captain. Hello, how you doing?
Greeting of the day. Thanks so much, Burza, for having me on. And again, a shout out to all of you beautiful oxygen thieves out there in chat lurking. We love to have you. Super appreciate being on here and getting to lead into Monday's patch.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be the big thing. On Monday, we will have the developer video launching, and after that, we will have the patch notes, and the patch happens on Tuesday, as always. So good stuff on that. Yeah, can't wait for it. Hopefully, this will somehow shift our community sentiment to a better place, especially maybe with some changes to Erendite coming. So I'm really happy about that. Really happy to have you on. First of all, most of all, thank you for actually hitting me up to be on Twig. I love when people actually come forth and say like, I want to be on Twig. I'm like, yes. I don't need to sit and think like, who should I have on this week? And so, yeah, if anyone watching wants to be on Twig, hit me up. It's very easy. Write to me on Twitter, Discord, wherever you want. I would be happy to have you if you're a Gwent content creator. And and also you just became partner, right?
I did. Super
Congrats.
Exciting times. Yeah, I'm really, it's one of those things where when I first started this, and I know that we'll get into it, but I never thought it was going to be anything more than me hanging out with some friends and having a good time and kind of talking about the game, other games that we might play. And it's between Team Creve being kind enough to take me on.
They're awesome.
The Gwent community in general. It's been great to just be uplifted and be able to reach out to that many more people and have so much fun with it. So thanks for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure. Thank you for agreeing to be on. And as you know, the format is very simple. We will first go through the news. There's really like just one item in the news because there was nothing really happening throughout this week since we're preparing for patch day. And I think we have like 2 community news. So one spoiler for the red news is, of course, that we will have developer update 10.6. This is a thumbnail for the video. So looking at the background, this is kind of a leak. You might expect some change to the card that you're seeing, which is going to be quite good. So fresh leak for everyone watching. And yeah, this is the only item for red news this time. As for community news, new episode of Flurza from previous week, the one about handling feedback. Highly encourage you to check it out if you have any questions, how feedback works, how feedback should be taken into account, how you should maybe pass on feedback to developers or others. Highly encouraged to check it out. And this week, today, we will have another episode launch, which is talking about jank decks. So if you don't know what jank is, check them out. I like piloting crappy decks from time to time, and there's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. Trust me. And Gwent League Summer Season. This is something new. You can check it out. It's a pretty cool tournament. You can sign up. It starts this weekend, so there's not a lot of time. But if you hit up their Discord, you can sign up there and check it out for yourself. That's it. That's it. Easy.
Love to see it.
Love to see it. Do you like jank decks or no? Do you just don't mind playing like something less optimal, but maybe, if it goes hard?
I mean, I am my favorite thing, and the thing that really drew me to Gwent was the interactions. Mm-hmm. So for me, yeah, I mean, I am fine with, our Creve teammate Fuchsia Briefs will do this where he'll create a deck and he'll play it on ladder for 15 games to get 2 games out of it where the interaction works as intended. And when it does, it feels so good. With the
I love that.
Changes that you all, it's my favorite, right? And with the Sahil changes that you all made, probably my favorite thing that's happened for me in Gwent the last few months was I played Land of 1,000 Fables with Sahil and did all of that. But my intent was I got Ryogan in the graveyard hanging out, and second to last play, I transformed my Sahil into a Siana, that 50-50.
Yeah.
And then I played Fuchsia twice. On deploy, so I was able to bring Arnulf out of the graveyard and get all that rain, and then I bring Ryogan out of the graveyard to proc all the rain at once. I was the happiest panda in the world. I'm like a little kid at Christmas. There's a clip of it on my page where I'm just like I'm just cheering like a child, and it's so fun because winning and competing at the higher levels. There's a lot of people that enjoy doing that. There's a lot of people that play casually. There's some people that only like to play like seasonally or with friends, but those interactions are what I think keep bringing us back. So
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. When did you join Gwent? Like, when did you find the game? First of all.
So I played all of the Witcher games.
Okay.
And so of course my first
Respect.
exposure to Gwent, yeah, I was in it from the beginning because I just said this is too fun not to do.
Hmm.
And then the first interaction that I had outside of in the Witcher games with the Gwent standalone was literally like 6-8 weeks before COVID lockdown started here in the
Okay.
States. So it was February, March of 2020. And so I picked up the game at random because a friend of mine did. And then, obviously, like I said, a couple months later, we're in the midst of, everybody's working from home, nobody's leaving the house for essentials. So my friends and I started reaching out to each other and we said,
Hmm.
hey, like, remember back in the day, we would use, especially like when we were in college and everybody kind of went their separate ways, we would use video games as a way to stay in touch.
Yeah. It's
It's
a
a
good way.
common shared
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a common shared experience. It's a shared community. Everyone's got their own different things going on because they're living in different places,
Hmm.
different majors, but we have a single thread that kind of is something we can be consistent with.
Links you together, right?
It's exactly right. And so it just kind of grew from there, and we were all playing together, and those fun interactions like we talked about, we'd ping each other clips of different stuff, which is why a lot of us got onto Twitch. And then finally, because I casted sports in the past and been done color commentating and play by play, some of my friends were like, "Hey, like this would be super fun to
Yeah.
listen to you ramble on like a clown on stream. Why don't you get into it?" And that's
Oh,
what led me
nice.
here.
So they motivated you to pretty much check it out and do it.
Yeah, and especially because I do a lot of philanthropy and volunteer work
Hmm.
on the side, and my worlds started to kind of mesh together. I started to have different things start to bleed into each other. Hey, I saw that you did this, or I'd have people from philanthropic organizations be like, oh, like there's a person that works with me at Paws for Life here in
Hmm.
town, an animal rescue,
Yeah.
that said, hey, did I hear you say you play Gwent? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, I actually play Gwent. And I was
Oh,
like,
that's really cool.
that's awesome.
That's amazing.
So yeah. So as everything started to bleed together, I was like, it might be a lot of fun to stream and be able to interact with the community real time.
And it's really awesome because you mentioned that you do most of this stuff for charity, right? The all the proceeds that
That's
you do
right.
from your streams go straight to charity. That's really
I'm
amazing.
I'm privileged enough that I know some people stream for some people stream for a job, some people stream
Hmm.
as a secondary income. I know that I'm in a really lucky and privileged position to be able to stream because it's fun. And the second it stops being fun, I won't do it anymore.
Okay.
So as a result, what I do is each month I do a live donation stream
Hmm.
where I show everybody exactly what I made from all of the various proceeds from Twitch, and then we live. I've got a couple charities that we put up on screen that I vetted through Charity Watch and netcharity.org. And
Hmm.
we go through and everybody votes for it. And then I match those funds dollar for dollar and we donate that live on stream.
That's
So
amazing.
this past weekend when we did our charity stream, we were able to buy a handful of water pumps through Water for South Sudan
Wow.
through that organization. And that's all because of the generosity of the Gwent community. So it's something we do every month and it's something I'm lucky to do.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And it's really nice to see, like, you started with this passion for streaming, and that you're taking this and actually, investing it into giving back to people who are less fortunate. It's just freaking amazing.
Well, the Gwent community has been amazing with the aid for Ukraine,
Hmm.
with other charity events. So many streamers. The most
Yeah.
valuable thing for the streamers is their time. For
Yeah.
any content creator, it's their time. And for them to be able to share that in the tournaments, in the events, people who aren't streaming Gwent as much now, people that consistently are streaming. Some people came back
Yeah.
to be able to join some of those events. So you guys really set the can did you just hear the follow notification that I got?
No.
Oh, thank God. I didn't tamper off my audio settings, so it just exploded in my
Yeah.
eardrums, and I was like, God, I hope
No,
that
I
Burza
didn't
didn't
go
just lose
through.
his hearing. Excellent. So, end of the day, it's something you guys have set the tone for. Other streamers have set the tone for. So I'm just glad to be a part of that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I think whenever there is a possibility to give back, I think streaming is the best way to kind of show your presence. That's one thing, and the other thing is actually convert that presence into doing something good and helping out. Like for us, it's easier because we're behind the logo of CDPR. So as a company, we try to do a lot of charity streams for different causes, and it's always good to use this kind of online persona that we've kind of managed to accumulate around us and use it for good. So yeah, I totally get that, and I respect that. But yeah, it's always hard because as a content creator, streamer, you need to kind of also think about like, what do I want to do? Like, what kind of should be my avenue that I go through when it comes to, should I be doing this more for myself? Should I be doing this for others? Should I be giving back to the community? But I also feel like something that you highlighted, which is important here, is that the Gwent community is pretty much open when it comes to helping others out. And also, we've seen a lot of people starting to stream, Gwent, and the community, like following plus help from them has been very, very good. And it comes to like simple stuff like, helping set up, I don't know, donations or setting up Nightbot or other stuff and getting actually mods for your channel. Like anyone from this community is always, happy to help and jump on, and kind of, everybody's kind of lifting each other together, which is amazing.
And that's the thing is and something that my time in the military really taught me is everyone's burden and everyone's struggle is unique to them.
Yeah.
And playing this comparative game of trying to say like, oh, my struggle is more or less than someone else's and stuff, it just it doesn't work, and it's not helpful.
Yeah.
And I say that because some people say, oh, this is just a game, and they're right, it is a game.
True.
But it's a game that, for example, that the development team, the leadership team at CDPR, the individual contributors have spent hundreds of thousands of hours on over half a decade of your lives.
Finally someone sees that.
It's true, because if you've never built something from the ground up, if you've never built something with your hands, it's hard to appreciate the love and care that goes into that. And that is not to say that criticisms and critique and feedback are not welcome, appreciated, and useful. It's just a comment.
Yeah.
In the same way, it's very easy maybe for somebody to say, and I bring up my service because we, sometimes especially in the States, and I know from a lot of the other countries that I've been to and have interacted with veterans, sometimes there's this interesting dynamic that happens where it's like, oh, no, Salty, you've served, so you understand. I say, no, it's a job.
Yeah.
And the stakes may be different in different jobs, but it's a job. It's a thing. And the reason I'm calling all of this out is just that at the end of it, whatever we can do to help lift each other up is what we should do. The measure of our dedication is what we're willing to do when maybe it's a little bit hard, or when it's something that we're not, that's not easy.
Yeah.
So that's why, HK is a member of my, is a member of Team Creve with me and Ulcroy. They reminded me that the Gwent community got together and literally saved a dog's life. They literally helped.
That was amazing.
That's incredible, right?
Yeah.
That's a group of essentially strangers in a digital space getting together and saying, this is a member of your family. You view this dog as someone that's part of your life. And I know that from my animals. Oh my God. Like I would be crushed. I would be crushed if something happened to any of mine.
Same.
And the community uplifted. So that's why this comparison of like, oh, it's just a game, or it's
much more than that.
What's helpful is taking care of each other.
I mean, the game is the common ground that we kind of all share because we all play the game, we all enjoy the game and the community around it. But actually, there is different ways and kind of options that we can take when it comes to what we do with this, right? And thanks to knowing so many people from different walks of life and from different parts of the world, we're able to create just amazing stuff and have this awesome, like, wholesome community.
100%. And again, criticisms and critique and feedback are what they are, and that's fine. And
Yeah.
if we're not willing to take them, then we're not doing our jobs. Um, but that also doesn't mean that we can't have a primary focus and a goal of just having fun and lifting each other up, especially when people are in a position of need.
Yeah. Perfectly said. So we know how you joined the Gwent clan. What about playing like The Witcher? Did you play like Witcher 2 or Witcher 1, or was it just Witcher 3? How
All of
was
them.
your experience? All of them. Okay.
All of
But
them.
was it like from
I've
the
been
beginning or yeah?
Yeah, so this is a shout out to any of my friends who or any of my fellow War Room chat friends who've been around the game long enough. And Burza, I know that you have as well.
Yeah.
Have been around gaming long enough. We were doing Justin TV and Twitch TV back in the day by going to a friend's house and watching them play a game that maybe we didn't
Nice.
have.
So
Right?
OG.
The super OG, right? I'm talking like, Diablo 1, Baldur's Gate, 2D RPGs, like,
Nice.
you go down the rabbit hole. I remember when growing up, my mom raised all of my brothers and I by herself. We didn't have a lot of money. My first Twitch was me going to my friend's house after school and watching him play bootleg Japanese RPGs that were ported that had like busted subtitles because they were never meant to be brought to America. And just
Perfect.
being fascinated by those kind of games and just watching him play for hours. Because it's a fun vicarious experience. It's the human interaction piece, but it's also watching somebody else play a movie.
Yeah.
And it was fun. It was a hell of a good time. And then when I got to college, there was, everybody had at the time PS3 and PS4 was getting ready to launch and Xbox and stuff. We still had people playing N64. We had people playing Mario Kart,
the best,
and original Smash Bros. And Mario Golf.
Yeah.
Admittedly, we'd have a couple of drinks and play Mario Kart.
The best
in a lot of countries,
thing to do. That's whenever we have like a party, that's the go-to game. Yeah.
Because you can pick it up and you can play it however you want.
Yeah.
So there's 3 buttons, there's 5 total controls. It makes it too easy, right? You can hand the controller to anybody and be like, just press A and
just go.
And so and admittedly we may have also had some drinks while we were doing that. And in a lot of countries it's illegal to drink and drive. So of course we would never play Mario Kart and drink and play Mario Kart. But that's a long way around to bringing me to The Witcher. Is I got sucked in very early on into RPGs and storytelling and games that tell a story. And so for me, when I'd seen when the first Witcher come out, and a friend of mine who had played it was like, hey, like the UI is a little janky. But he's like, there's a really neat story behind here and a neat universe that I think you'd be interested in, and I got hooked. And then of course, I mean the DLC for Witcher 3, Blood and Wine was just, it's tops. It's so good.
For me also my favorite one. My favorite one, like always, because I feel like in that one we kind of showed how much we've grown in terms of like the visuals, the art style, but also like word building and stuff like that from the base game, and kind of showed you that there were a lot of things that changed there. And also the visual style was much different, because we went from kind of dark and gritty to this beautiful Tucson where everything is thriving and blooming, a little bit of mix of like southern France mixed in with a little bit of Italy in it, and the vineyards and all that. That was just, it was incredible to actually like get to see it behind the scenes, because that was the time where I joined the company, and actually see it being developed and see the concept art for the characters. The only thing I had to watch out for is spoilers, because story spoilers were like everywhere. But that was a really cool 100%.
One. And I was actually I was in service at the time, and I wasn't here in the States. So when Witcher 3 came out, I was way behind the power curve. But the upside was that by the time that I got back to it, the DLC was ready. So I was able to play Witcher 3 start to finish.
Nice.
Like, as that complete story, and it was so great. And that's where I'm actually 2 weeks ago, I finally got it through my backlog. I've also started Cyberpunk.
Ooh,
so
nice.
Streaming between, obviously, those of us who like video games know that Diablo Immortal launched yesterday, the PC beta.
Yep.
You better believe that when the early to mobile came out, I was jamming that thing till my phone became 1,000 degrees. My phone was 1,000 degrees in my hand.
Yeah,
So,
perfect.
so did that. So we're gonna be, obviously there's another great story. And so I'm excited to get into the cyberpunk story. I was excited to hear Deckard Cain's voice again in Diablo. So
Yeah.
this stuff I love, but the but Hearts and Wine is always going to have a place for me. I mean, it's just so good. It's so good. I mean, how could you not be happy about it?
I mean, Blood and Wine will always be number one for me also, but I know a lot of people kind of go towards like Hearts of Stone because the story aspect there is like very, very strong. And I think it's more linear when it comes to like the whole storytelling, because I feel like in Blood and Wine, you kind of have things open up a little bit and you kind of can choose your own trajectory where you want to go and what you want to do. Nice.
Blood and Wine, out of the two, Blood and Wine's definitely tops for me too. Yeah,
Same.
and like you said, also the visual aesthetic, like exactly what you said, the Portugal Spain meets Italy. It's just I love that vibe.
It's a mix of a little bit of everything, kind of. The good weather also, which is the most important thing there. Like you're not, in rainy, snowy Skellige where it's just terrible. Although it has its, it has its own thing. Like Skellige is good to like play it in the winter time. Are you also this type of gamer that plays games depending on the time of the year? Like if it's summer, you like a summer game, and if it's like winter, you want a winter game.
It's funny you say that. I tend to play a lot more sports games and even FPSs and stuff in the summer when I've got the windows open and it has that vibe to it. And like you said, I didn't think of it until you just said it, but you're right. I tend to want to RPG hunker down in the winter. I get myself a nice big bowl of soup, like an entire loaf of bread and a block of cheese because I'm a monster like that. And I would just not move from my cat. Oh, it's tough. I'm a gym rat, but I admit that I've gone 3, 4, 6, 10 days without really leaving because I'm in a game and and they're like, oh, it's 70 hours. Challenge accepted. So I'm there for it, 100%.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, if you mix it up and you have the time where you do cardio and you do like all your gym related stuff, and you like hunker down, take a couple weeks and actually get into training properly, it's all good. But then you also have the time where you can kind of let yourself go a little bit and enjoy kind of the good stuff, right? The good food and lots of it. And also if you train a lot, you're able to eat a lot. So that's
I read
always
that
a plus.
somewhere, and that maybe that helps explain why I'd eat an entire pizza in one sitting. I'll justify it by saying that I did leg day yesterday. I
have the same thing, and I just bike like 100 kilometers in the morning, right?
I've seen this. I've seen that you bike further than a lot of people will be willing to drive. That's incredible.
I actually make more kilometers on my bike than I do on my car, especially with the gas prices now. Totally no.
I mean, yeah, I can't. There's a small niche sub community in the Gwent community of gym rats and people who like to suffer.
Yeah.
And I see Foxbride is actually in here too, and he just did a train up for Murph, which in the States is becoming a lot more global over the years. Murph is a common once a year fitness challenge that you do, where you do a mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats, and then finish it with a mile run. And if you do it to standard, if you do it as prescribed, you also wear a weighted vest.
Oh my God, no.
And Foxbride went through this whole thing where he went through and he trained for it and everything else. And I tell you, man, I can't even lie. He's looking great. You looking great, man. You looking studly. Yeah, they're looking lean. And now he's on Twitter talking about fasted cardio and stuff. So there's a small group of us that we
he's in chat also. Yeah,
I saw. Yeah, he's a
freaking beast. And he's like, monster. Yeah, give me gym and fitness tips, please, thanks. So he probably knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's over here with big neck, skinny waist, asking us to give him fitness tips. I see you, Foxbride. I see you.
Yeah, awesome. It's really nice to see people from the community always flogging in into chat and interacting. It's always amazing. Circling back to Gwent, what was your favorite meta or deck that you ever played? Like, or the one that you started with, maybe? Like, what's your favorite one?
I really liked Second Wind Skellige. That was fun for me. Playing Hemdall out the graveyard was fun for me.
Nice.
But that's because a lot of, I know, especially like I know that there's also some, and I don't need to tell you, you know this better than anybody. There's some regionality to what factions a lot of times tend to be played.
Yeah.
Like, and everyone who's played long enough knows that at certain times of the day, based on where you are,
Yes.
you will see, you're
Different
more likely
things.
or less likely to see things like mill.
Yeah.
You know, and so on. But I loved that interaction of just being able to pull out Hemdall and slam him down, because I started with Skellige as opposed to a lot of people in the States, you know, tend to gravitate and starting to Nilfgaard.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, Skellige, I was like, control everything. Like, it was so much fun. I was just, you know, crushing hopes and dreams, which I guess is you know, is par for the course given my background. But no, that was great. And I just wanted to, I don't know if you're gonna go there, but I just wanted to say my favorite card, and I think the most underrated card in the game, is Terror Crew Plunder.
Ooh,
It's my
interesting
favorite
choice.
card. Nobody else gives a damn about Terror Crew Plunder.
Yeah,
I'll
that's
tell
true.
you what. If you check the premium card art, you've got this badass female pirate.
Yeah.
Who I admit, like, if you're out there and you exist, I'm single. All right. I don't mind that you are a violent terror and a pirate. All right. We've seen an entire $1 billion movie franchise about pirates. Clearly, people love pirates. So now that I've sent her my message into the meta, she's there, and she's just got this guy pinned down,
Yeah.
you know, choking the hell out of him, and he's reaching for this hammer because he would really like this this hammer axe, because he would really like for her to stop doing that. And she's over here like Gollum with the one ring that she obviously pilfered off of him, and she's like, oh, shiny. Like,
yeah, doesn't even care about him.
no, she's so strong that she's just, you know, she's just bare handling him over here like he's nothing. And it's so funny. And that's the kind of stuff where, when I first started with Gwent, and I would just take a second and actually look at the card art, I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like, there's a care and a love that went into this, that it wasn't just kind of like a slap together clip art, you know, Google, you know,
Google
Gremlin
Pirate and put something together.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Pirate images, and then pull that, right, and then like go to a cartoon transformer and just drop and drag. No, there was real love and care put into this. I love it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, awesome choice. Interesting choice. I like when someone always chooses something different than from the like standard normal cards that everybody goes for. I think we also have this thing that we kind of gravitate toward, like card arts that kind of, you know, give us like a certain feeling when we see it. So
Sure.
those are yeah, you're thinking like, yeah, this is badass, or this is awesome, or yeah, I could relate to this in some way. So interesting choice. Nice.
I love it. I think it's great.
Incredible. Maybe a question that is kind of right now controversial. What do you think about the current meta? Like, in your own words.
So I'll say two things at different levels. Overall, I appreciate the dev team's intent of trying to push the envelope with card interactions and styles like Puzzle Box, for instance, things that are unique and different. I also appreciated the intent of things like Ring of Fortune trying to ameliorate what we saw with, you know, essentially red coin abuse, where you sit back on your hind legs and you let the player on blue coin spend more than you, and then, you know, you're willing to go down that one card, because then you have round control to either bleed, or in a lot of cases it was because it was a one card finisher. I think of things like Gourd, right? Gourd Symbiosis. The intent was to get round control regardless, blue or red, just so that you could play your Gourd unanswered. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I appreciate all of that intent, and I appreciate them pushing the envelope. Like a lot of people, the strategic piece, the mid macro, if you will, because really it's you know, strategic, it's tactical, strategic, organizational. But the point is that once you get in game and that coin flip happens, and then you see you're on red coin, and you know that your odds of winning have instantaneously dropped. Just because of coin. Ironically, like I said, that was a problem. I don't think to the same extent, but that was a problem before the changes.
Yeah, it was.
So, I mean, let's not romanticize the past, friends. like there was a lot of times where you would get blue coin and you'd be like, oh man, I'm in trouble now.
Yeah.
So has the door swung too far the other way? Yes. I think we all accept that. I don't think anybody argues that. Um, I think the thing that a lot of the community feels and that I don't disagree with is maybe about recognizing the need for a change earlier
Mm-hmm.
and or implementing a change earlier, because you guys, again, the internal discussions that you all have, I think you guys are wildly transparent with us as much as you can be with the
Yeah.
variety of ways that you communicate with us. But I also understand that there's some nuance to this where, and correct me if I'm wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to know. My assumption is that you all have more of a, on the spectrum of hands on, hands off. You guys tend to say, let's be a little more hands off and see if the players adapt. Let's see if the meta happens. Because let's not forget, a year ago, there was a Northern Realms Witcher deck
Yeah.
that played Erden and Igni. Like, we have seen hyper control, and again, it was easier to have a
Yeah.
hyper control meta with something like Lockdown and with Nilfgaard control being more playable, which it's not right now for a variety of reasons. But the meta also hasn't necessarily shifted wholeheartedly to it. Like, players haven't necessarily shifted all the way to adjust. It's still a lot of point slam as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to more to control. And part of that is because obviously it's harder to play control into something like monster relics.
Yeah.
So I'd love to really hear, and I think a lot of people might like to hear your perspective
Mm-hmm.
on, do you guys tend to be a little bit more hands off and like wait and see to see if we all adjust? What's your engagement with the feedback? How does that all work for you?
It's a mix of two things. Like, I feel like when it comes to our design team, like, they don't want to be pushing anything design related as in the form of a hotfix, because in this case, if we think about it, we need to hotfix it. And if we did it in the previous patch, maybe it would make sense. But I feel like what they told me is they kind of want to step back a little bit and see how everything develops and what's going to be, how Erendite is going to fit into this whole thing. What about all the Golden Necker decks? Is the nerf that we had for Priestess good enough, or do we need to do more maybe? And just give ourselves another month in order to kind of see how everything develops and also see it a little bit more on the data side. And we also felt that, from the beginning, after 10.5, everybody was pretty much okay-ish until we kind of saw like this longer message from Pawel, and then others kind of jumping on it and actually saying what they feel the problem is, and mainly like pointing on everything on Erendite. We kind of were like, okay, we feel like we're seeing the problem, but let's wait till the end of the month. Maybe players will find a way to kind of go around it, right? Because I feel like people will say that maybe this was obvious, from the beginning.
You've got a friend in
Yeah.
chat who said that, right?
Yeah, I just saw, but it's not that very obvious. And I feel like a lot of people in the community, like, the initial reception of the cards was very good. People were very happy about the abilities. We're calling them strong and, meta defining. And that was kind of the idea. But then pretty much we thought that, players are smart enough. They'll find a way to go around it. We'll keep on monitoring everything, looking into data and actually looking into the play rates and win rates for decks that have Erendite in them. And we saw that like mid this month, they kind of started dropping off a little bit, but it was strong, very strong in the beginning. Especially you can see kind of based on whatever the well-known content creators are doing, like with the decks that they're playing, that you can see it reflected in the data very quickly. If someone does a stream, plays a deck that is new, if it's like a person like Shinmiri, for example, it instantly goes whoop.
Mutagenerator?
Yeah, Mutagenerator whoop, goes all the way up, right?
Was garbage for 7 weeks and found playability, and then and then it becomes part of the zeitgeist, and away you go, right?
Yeah, and then now it's like Ornate Sensor going up because some people started playing it. So all these things, they're kind of, mixing and matching, and we're kind of trying to take some time and actually, take our hands off the wheel and letting players kind of do it. And I always also feel that, introducing changes like mid-month that's always very tricky. It's always very tricky to do it from just like the development standpoint. Like you need to like test these things. We never like doing hot fixes for balance related stuff, because if we change one thing, how it will influence the other things. There is like a live esports playground scene going on here. If we change something, it will influence the qualifiers that were this month. It's like just a little bit of too many things. Maybe after the qualifiers, we could have done that. But after the qualifiers, we were already focusing on getting everything ready for the patch that is coming on Tuesday next week. So, you know, it's a lot of moving pieces on the development side where we want to kind of, you know, like hold our horses when it comes to stuff like that. Of course, if we saw that, you know, the play rates and the win rates were just crazy, and this was getting out of control, then we would do it. Like there were a couple instances where we actually had to like halt everything and hotfix, you know, balance related stuff. So for this one, we kind of wanted to wait a little bit.
And I think from what you're describing, so two things I think I'd call out. One is Phantom Mag put a comment that I stand by 100% because I've done this in real life. The things that have to happen for certain changes that you all know are going to have third, fourth, eighth order effects and be super downtrace. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
There's the actual structural development piece of like doing the card redesign and the coding and all of that, which, you know, can be a very small resource investment, sure. But then there's the initial internal testing. I'm sure that you guys have I know that you guys have the player client, the testing client that you all have. There's that layer of testing. Then there's maybe a wider testing or an engagement that you might float in, maybe in like the partner space, to be like, hey, like if you know, if this happens, what does that look like? There's a lot of downtrace effects. The worst thing I'm imagining that you all would want to do would be to introduce a change and then have that change cascade in some kind of unseen way where someone which has happened before, where someone finds a one-off that breaks everything. And then you're like, you know, good Lord. Now, the other thing I'll say is that my specific critique would be the reason why I love Gwent is because of the strategy and the nuance. The fact that, and that's why I loved the building decks around bronzes kind of metas, which is why I liked Greatsword, which is where you got an opportunity to say like, hey, I'm going to take some bronzes and my golds. I don't say they're going to supplement, but the interaction of my bronzes and golds is going to lead to great things. I liked playing old Self-Wound.
Yeah.
Back when, you know, I would go in and you know, with Draco Turtle, and you'd be playing stuff like that, and you'd play your druids off of that, and you'd have Getty for the points. But like stuff like that and the Marjorams on armor, like the intent was to build up armor and stuff.
Good old times.
Like, and so that's where I think a lot of the frustration also comes from, even below the top, you know, the top 500, tops, you know, anywhere from the top 500, top 64, whatever delimiter you want to do, from that pro level to casual players who also like to play the game with some frequency. I think we feel like there's been some of that lost, because between Erendite and coin, and the coin abuse now being on the blue side, the point slam, and then, you know, Necker, you know, being able to play Golden Necker and throw 30 plus points out in a single turn without the kind of deliberate setup that we used to have to go through.
Yeah.
You think about the most most points that you'd ever get out of anything back in the day was Assimilate.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The creed was never go into a long round with Assimilate.
Yeah.
Like a long round 3 with Assimilate's a bad day. But that also took setup. It took turns of whether you're playing Portal or to get your bronzes out, your Assimilate bronze engine and stuff. There's all this work that you had to do. And so maybe that's something that I think a lot of people would like to hear about is, you know, do you all have a sense of what that looks like, or in terms of getting back to that place and rebalancing maybe the triangle between engines, point slam, control, or what's your long-term take on what we're going to be seeing going forward without maybe revealing too much with what's coming up?
Yeah, it's pretty much a good question for the balancing more than for me, but pretty much I feel like what we want to do, especially like with the next update, is to rebalance some stuff, but also bring some stuff up in terms of like archetypes that I feel like they are not getting enough love right now. So make them a little bit stronger while fine tuning the things which are kind of, running rampant still after everything that was introduced with Forgotten Treasure. So like tuning that stuff, and then focusing on other things, and also maybe doing some stuff for more of the swarmy decks, and also in the future looking more into decks that focus on devotion and going that way is kind of the direction that we want to kind of be bringing it back, so people don't have this thing to saying that, oh, they only care about now neutrals and faction identity is gone because of this. Like, we're aware of people saying that, so we want to kind of bring it out, the other way in this case.
Yeah.
Without spoiling anything.
Let's also not romanticize the fact that a year and a half, 2 years ago, there were certain matchups, not just archetype, but faction matchups where you'd go into it, you'd be like, I have a very, I do not have a good chance of winning.
Yeah.
Just because of a certain, particularly a certain faction. And then obviously over time, we've kind of narrowed more to an archetype. Control Nilfgaard into Skellige Selfwound.
Yeah.
Skellige Selfwound's gonna have a bad day between graveyard manipulation, the ability to seize and take and play your cards, graveyard hate. That's a bad day.
Yeah.
And I think that from a design perspective, I would imagine you guys are okay with that. The community for the most, is okay with that. Like, it is what it is. That's what happens. It's the random roll of ladder. But yeah, I think that ability to feel like I'm playing a faction that has a specific identity, an archetype that has an identity that's trying to do a thing. That's what we love, and particularly for me, I love that setup and feeling their payoff. That's the word I was grasping for. The payoff of like, like I did it. I did the thing. The thing is good. The thing is done.
Yeah, I also kind of like to gravitate toward a specific faction, in this case, scoia'tel, and I don't want my scoia'tel deck just be filled with all the good cards, which are a little bit overtuned in a given meta. I just want to more, have its own kind of identity. And I also agree a little bit with what you said, that you want a little bit of more setup instead of just having one card that can, pretty much give you a lot of points, instead of just actually have this whole thing where you set up your engines, you then do other stuff, you tutor for things, and everything starts rolling out, in a manner where also your opponent has the ability to counter these things and, have an answer for them. Of course, it sucks for you if they answer your stuff, but still, I mean, this is why we play card games, because sometimes we can sneak it in. We can sneak it in. Or if you're a control player, you play control because you want to be in control of the match, and then see if you're able to stop, what's going to happen.
100%. And I think that's all that anybody wants, is to feel like going in, there's a line that they can take to win the matchup, and that they feel like an archetype that there's enough both variety between the archetypes, and there's enough competition between the archetypes that you don't have to be locked into playing only a handful of decks to compete. I think that, and obviously I'm not speaking about tournament. This is, ladder and people playing in general, because tournaments are obviously totally different, but yeah, it's to feel like they have agency. And that's great. It's great to hear you say that. And again, I take the benevolent view here. I imagine the devs feel the same way.
Yes.
It's okay to misstep, and it's okay to miss the mark on some stuff. That's fine. Like, that's why I feel like, burning him at the stake for it just feels a little bit over much.
Yeah, I mean, we make mistakes. Like, there are metas where players are happy. There are things when we drop cards, players are more or less happy. But there are moments where, on the balance side, we sometimes, feel like we get stuff out of hand. It was interesting because I was even talking the other day with Vlad, and he was, we talk weekly, where we just sit down for an hour and just discuss stuff. And we were talking about the current meta, and we're kind of like thinking, is there anything that we could have done in a different way when it comes to communication, when it comes to, maybe highlighting more to the other team members that, there's a problem and we need to adjust on the go. And we all kind of, like both of us said, like, could we really, like, or did we do enough in this case? Like, and it's always this thing when you're kind of doubting yourself because you're seeing the negativity from the community, and you kind of know that, we've also saw that there is a problem and we need to like adjust it, but we don't want to adjust things on the go when it comes to balance, because it just makes everything fall out of place once again. And we know that we tested this multiple times. We tested this with, like community members also. So this is not something that was stuck, that we just, tested ourselves. And people think the balance team is just Jean playing the game, where there's multiple designers that are responsible for this. Plus there's a pool of community members that are playing the game on a closed PTR, and they're kind of given their feedback. Like, none of these things were slipping through the cracks in between patches. So we're like, okay, maybe we should continue the way it is, see how it develops. If it gets out of hand, and it kind of did, we're going to need to adjust it in the next update, right? So that's kind of
and then like you said, also the tensions with you've got the qualifiers and the top 16 and stuff. Like, then there's that. It's like, how much lift and shift do you want to do 14 days before, 21 days before those events as well? And again, I think we've we peeled the onion enough on this. So I'm sure everyone has an opinion, and also everybody is probably tired of hearing the circular about it. But the knock on wood is that come Tuesday, we've got something shiny and fun, and I know that you guys have got some stuff planned for us, so looking forward to it. Yeah.
There's some unexpected stuff also in this patch, so I hope that we kind of have a little bit of redemption time from the community, and people say like, okay, maybe this is the right way to go. So
I'm looking at Tris Butterflies. That's a good start for me. Anything I know some people are gonna be like, oh my god, it's a neutral. Yeah, all right, like, move on, because it's great. It's great to see cards that maybe haven't seen play in a long time either get a rework or a function that allows us to open doors in other archetypes. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, likewise. There were a couple of things that you wanted to talk about that kind of separates, I think, Gwent from other card games. There were some ideas about decision making, especially like looking into new players and stuff like that. I see like you're very into like theories and being strategic about things, and maybe it comes from the military background, like you highlighted. So what do you enjoy when it comes to like decision making and kind of how you play Gwent yourself?
So let me see. Baron couldn't even type it fast enough. We love the Baron Grimswald. So Rune Mage is an awesome card. That is such a great card design. I got lost in the sauce of all this with Forgotten Treasure. For some people, maybe that Rune Mage is awesome. And I know that Shinmiri the last week and a half or so has been playing a Shoop Radea Rune Mage deck exactly for that reason. It's so great. And I've got some stuff in the bag here for the next week or so leading up to Tuesday. Some Skellige Rune Mage, some good casino stuff. So it'll be fun to play that. But the thing I think that's surprising to me, listening to a lot of streamers, engaging with people in my chat, is a lot of the biases and the fallacies the logic fallacies that carry over across competitive games, and particularly card games. And I also come from a background of playing competitive poker, and so we see that a lot. Gambler's fallacy, right? The tendency to believe that future probabilities are somehow impacted by past events. How many of us have said, I never find siege?
Yes.
Right. Like, it's the common thing. Siege or the siege is the hardest scenario to find. Of course, and I know that most of us know that we're joking, but it's obviously nonsense, right? That's like empirically that's impossible. But it's part of the fallacy structure, outcome bias. The idea that we judge a decision by its outcome instead of the inputs that got us there. So people will say like, and I do this too, by the way, I'm not immune to this, but like talking about missing cards. Well, I mean, if you play 100 games and you can play Priestess. Priestess is the perfect example of this. If you play a Priestess deck and your opponent does not manipulate your deck, 98 out of 100 games, you will find all of your cards exactly as intended, because that's how the deck is built. You sacrifice some of the, and you can build any deck like that. If we look at tournaments, a lot of the players last weekend that brought Self-Wound decks made some small tweaks to the more meta Self-Wound deck and added Ermion. To make sure that they could tutor the Sigdrifa's right, or be able to get that Marjoram out for Sigvald. Because in a tournament setting, you're willing to, in a lot of instances, you're willing to lower your potential point ceiling while also reducing your RNG, and so you add that consistency.
Yeah.
So one of the fallacies that I think is that Gwent has enough tutors across all the factions, plus the neutrals, that you could guarantee not to miss your cards if you really wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
You have agency over that. You have control over that in the deck builder. So if you start there, you've got a really good opportunity to hit all your cards. The trade-off is you're not going to have as much juice as somebody else.
Yeah.
Syndicate decks historically are a great example of this. The current King of Beggars meta Syndicate deck right now has one tutor.
Mm-hmm.
King of Beggars generally doesn't thin until round 3, so it doesn't really count. It's got Bank. So you're playing Vivaldi Bank, and then you're just kind of hoping everything else works out.
Exactly.
But if it works, you got a lot of juice.
Yeah.
So yeah, and Baron just said, and then you sacrifice power. And that's
sometimes you have to for the utility, right?
And that's the trade-off. And what happens, another bias that people then stumble into as a result, is insensitivity to sample size.
Yeah.
You can play 3 games with a deck and know that it's not going to work.
Yeah.
But if you play 5 games with a deck and you estimate that your deck is really more of a red coin deck, 4 of your games were on blue coin.
Yeah.
And you missed cards in 3 of your games that you wanted for your strategy to execute, how could you possibly know if the deck's functioning?
Exactly.
So there's a lot of these things where I think
not a big sample size.
Players,
yeah.
You need to have a bigger sample size to be able to really make an inference. So the thing that I would highlight, whether you're a casual player in rank 25, just hanging out, having a good time, whether you're a pro player, is getting to understand a little bit more the mental piece so that you can have more fun.
Yeah.
The game is more fun when you don't feel like the cards are stacked against you, not because mathematically they are, but because you're making a judgment call where you're like, oh, you know, this game is nonsense, like, you know, whatever. It's like, well, how many tutors do you have? How much thinning do you do? I don't care about any of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Like, what do you expect, right?
Yeah. Or the execution that you need in order for your strategy to go off in the macro is you need 4 cards to be played in succession in that order, uninterrupted.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Good luck. Yeah.
So, you know, it's just there's a lot of that stuff that happens. And in the military, we call it the military decision-making process. MDMP is a very deliberate thing. And that's carried over for me to playing Gwent, where I make some very quick situational assessments. I go, okay, like, do I need to, as soon as the cards come out round 1, I get my hand draw. I say, do I need to win round 1 against this deck? Do I need last say?
Yeah.
Do I need to bleed? If you can, in your mind, if you can kind of structure things to make certain decisions, you just kind of like walk the dog on those things. You have a lot of fun with it, and it makes it a lot more fun. And then if you lose, you go, okay, yeah, like that sucked.
Yeah.
We play to win. We play to win the game, but it's okay. It's okay if you don't. It's okay how that goes.
Yeah, I mean, you need to look pretty much at the cards that you have in the beginning, and you can tell by like round 1, like what should I commit, what should I not commit, and if this is like the moment to kind of, okay, maybe I'll have a weaker round 1, but I can bounce back round 2 and 3 if I tutor for the stuff that I need later on. That's possible, but you know, if I go in all in, guns blazing, and there's a lot of players that just go in round 1 and pretty much execute everything they learned from like a YouTube video, that's very quickly, you know, gets you into trouble because there are things that you're not expecting and you're not instead of I feel like sometimes as card game players, I also do this mistake a lot of times, is that we keep on repeating the same old strategy instead of adapting on live kind of to what's going on, to what our opponent is doing, right? And sometimes 100%. If something does, you know, happens in a way that we do not expect it, we're kind of like, what should I do now? Should I be continuing with my strategy? Should I be adapting to this? And then like, sometimes it's just too late. Like if you don't react at a given moment, out.
Yep. And that's where you're exactly right, Burza. And that's where things like outcome bias.
Yeah.
Was the outcome of this game solely decided by RNG, by random chance?
Yeah.
Or was the outcome of this, or could I have influenced the outcome of the game? In the micro, it's the decisions you make in the game. In the macro, like I said, it's in the deck builder.
Yeah.
Like, to your point, did I start from a position where I was in a no-win situation? To my Star Trek fans out there, was I in a Kobayashi Maru from day 1? Like before I ever clicked the play button from the start screen, like was I not in a position to be successful? To your point, unless all of these things happen exactly as prescribed in the deck guide. And And Gonzalo made a point in chat about like saying I miss playing Flying Redanian. Yeah, that's the trade-off that the current meta has had to make, and this circles all the way back to the beginning about some of the changes a lot of us are hoping for, myself included. You can't really feel like you're going to be able to compete with in especially in pro rank and in the top 500 against the power of other decks by playing something like Flying Redanian. You love to have that thinning, you love to have that consistency, that extra 3 points maybe on the back end in a round or two after round one. But you need those provisions so you can play that top end and that you can go ahead and compete with the power.
Yeah.
So that's where it's at. But at the end of the day, again, it's about having fun. And if you can reorient yourself mentally, if you can think through those biases, and a lot of us, and I say this from personal experience, it comes from a position of shame.
Mm-hmm.
Like you don't want to feel ashamed or embarrassed. Streamers, especially, and content creators, you don't want to feel ashamed of losing. You don't want to feel embarrassed by losing. It's okay.
It's fine. It's totally fine.
We're gonna be okay. You and me together, we're gonna be all right. So, and that's not to minimize that like these things aren't important and they don't matter. It's just to say that like if you think about it in those ways and you don't get caught up in those biases and those fallacies and those traps, you're gonna enjoy the game more. You're gonna know when it was you, and you're gonna know when you lost from the get, and that makes it a little bit easier to stomach.
Yeah, and I feel like having this perspective of kind of, I think it applies to everything in life. You sometimes need to be kind of like jumping out and kind of hovering over yourself and seeing like, should I be really worried about this? Is this really, could I like really, does this really need to like influence me? And I get it myself. I sometimes get like steamed mad that something happens or something that, you know, I didn't foresee within a game, or the mistakes I made, or sometimes I just play good, but I got a bad draw. And I also feel that, you know, whenever I'm playing on stream, sometimes that I should be performing a little bit better. But that was kind of in the beginning when I was streaming and I was playing Gwent. I felt like people had like higher expectations in terms of like, oh, he works on the game, he should be like, you know, a god. Well, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Totally doesn't work that way. I mean, maybe if I played,
wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, maybe if I played as much as the pro players, maybe that would be possible. But you know, we've seen screenshots as proof as people going against in pro rank against some of the, you know, the best players and winning against them. And it happens, and sometimes it's just bad draws, sometimes it's just bad decision making, sometimes it's just testing different things in your deck. Because I feel like
100%.
Yeah, if you're a card game player, you will be testing new cards and kind of fine tuning things. I mean, you can net deck stuff, but very quickly from like the net decking process, which is very easy, just copy paste and play it and test it. You will actually come to a conclusion that, okay, maybe I can swap some cards, maybe I can adjust this if I move that. You know, it's going to be more fun. And I think you'll fine tune the deck to like your play style and also what you want from it, right?
100%. And that's where if you can take as much of that frustration out, but also if you can take solace in the fact, like I said, about that outcome bias, and you can be like, I did everything I had agency over to play as well as I think I could. Or conversely, you know, there's a couple of missteps in there. I lost by 20, but had I done these 4 or 5 different things, I would have lost by 3.
Yeah.
And then I would have maximized my plays. And that tells me that I'm being as good as I can at this game, and I'm having fun doing it. Yeah. Hello, little friend.
That's Geralt. Yeah, he's stretching right now because he was sleeping in that corner.
Hello, buddy. My animals are strewn about my place because it's nap time at the moment, as you would expect. Here I'm midday, so they're all lounging.
He just finished his nap.
In the vein of asking you for things as we come on this week in Gwent, I wanted to keep the tradition going. Myself, Baron, a couple other people in my chat, we've talked about this for a while. Is there ever a universe where we would be able to go, where we'd be able to play friendlies and be able to select from like a drop down of the different seasonal formats to play a friendly?
That's an interesting one. That's the first one I've heard, to be honest.
That would be we were talking about this, like, how much fun would it be if you were like, all right, guys, we're going to go in the deck, like, you know, hey, Baron, I'm going to play you one-on-one. We're going to have some fun.
That would be amazing. That would be amazing.
And be like, we're gonna do entrench, or we're gonna do we're gonna swap hands every other hand. Let's see how wild stuff can get. That'd be so much fun.
I'm actually adding that to my list of stuff. That would be really cool. Like, like doing a friend match and then choosing the type of seasonal, so everybody's playing on the same field. That's really cool.
Because there's a lot of people that a lot of us have talked, and it's come up a lot in my chat, that a lot of us, Moshcraft, I think, has even said it a couple of times when he's talked about it on his stream. There's a lot of us who would love just playing friendlies with each other, and like seeing what kind of weird interactions and fun stuff and decks we can build beyond ladder, and we would stream it. We'd content create off of it. We'd have a hell of a good time with it.
Yeah, so you can create a lot of content. Yeah, out of that. That's a cool one.
Being able to. I'm not gonna lie. I would really love the opportunity to be able to use Vilg Renegade to be able to make like 15 Sianas and then click them all in the same turn.
Oh,
I'm just saying that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Also, I just agree. Like, if you, as a streamer, if you're only limited to playing pretty much like the seasonal within a given month, and which is, I feel like, is not very popular. Like, the majority of content creators and streamers kind of go through the fine-tuned decks and just playing, normal ladder or ranked, and then, or if you're pro ladder, then playing over there. That's kind of the avenue that they go through. Like, this is what kind of will give me the most viewers, because people are always searching for the, for the best deck and for to be competitive. And I think Gwent, kind of in the way that it is, kind of pushes you to go towards the competitive side. But if we maybe had different options when it comes to, like, especially if you're part of a team and you have other content creators, like, it's just all of you having fun and creating content off of that.
That's exactly the thought process. And in fact, we're actually working right now through the nuts and bolts of being able to do a community tournament with the starter decks.
Mm-hmm.
So the intent would be that you would bring a starter deck, and we're working out kind of like how many provisions need to be left over. And you can maybe add 1 gold and swap out 2 bronzes, kind of thing. Like, we're figuring out the puts and takes to make sure that it functions. But stuff like that, because we think it'd be really accessible, but we also think it'd be really fun to watch, top tier players, streamers, content creators, try and negotiate decks where you have to play, I don't know, Wolfpack. We just think it'd be really funny. So that's the kind of stuff where we'd love to be able to leverage all the content you guys, in terms of development, all the content you guys have already made, to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's really cool. Oh yeah, I noted that down, so I'm keeping that idea. I'll pass it on to the rest of the team, because I feel like that would be awesome. that would be really cool. And I think maybe it shouldn't be that difficult on the implementation side, but I don't want to be like jumping onto someone else's work. But we'll see what they say. But it's an interesting one.
You let them know that if it helps, next month I am happy to make the only option for my donation stream the Feed the CDPR Devs Foundation. I know that the Feed the Devs Foundation is an important one, and we are happy to donate to that cause if that's what gets it done.
Perfect. Well said. Oh man, this is such a good conversation, but we're over an hour, and I always try to keep these into an hour. Yes. So I'm probably going to need to have you back once again for another one. It was really a pleasure to talk to you, man. And it just felt like the conversation could go on naturally for hours and hours on end.
And then we jump on your bike, right? Then we gotta take me on a 100K bike tour, and then my legs lock up, so I can't sit down.
That's kind of, no, actually, yeah, that would be interesting. Like, having like one episode when it's just riding the bike and talking.
I don't know if you've seen, but on social media, there's a guy who does like TikToks and short videos of him taking work calls, and he's got a green screen behind him, and he's on his bicycle, but like biking through the city.
Oh, really? I need to check that out.
The background looks like an office, and in my mind now, I just imagine Burza being on a call like with your internal team, being like, "Yeah, I think we're gonna make those changes," and nobody realizes that you're coming around the corner of the the Champs-Élysées, so that'd be funny.
And the air, like,
yep, air whipping in the wind. I love it.
Totally not outside. Totally not outside. Like,
I'm in my house.
Yes,
I promise.
Why are you shouting?
I love it. Well, again, thank you so much, Burza, for having me. It's been great. Love to see it. And
where can people find you? Last one. Probably the people in chat can find you easily, but if not, where can people find you?
Friends can find me at twitch.tv/the_salty captain. You can find me there. I only do Gwent stuff on Twitter, was the only reason I revived my Twitter account long
Nice.
ago. I do some stuff on YouTube, but mostly that's for people who like to enjoy YouTube from that medium. I don't do any ads or any of that stuff because I think YouTube scalps enough money from the rest of us. So yes, the_salty captain. Come find me if you guys would like to hang out. And yes, and also if you're interested, I'm also a journeyman blacksmith and knife maker. So if you're interested, you can find the links on my Instagram for my knife making, blacksmithing, metalworking, and all of that. And we're going to be doing a blacksmithing stream coming up here soon as well. So
Whoa, man, let me know when that one's happening, because I've always been into, you know, pounding on metal and stuff like that. Like welding is one of the first things that I learned after like university and stuff like that, because I just wanted to, you know, just have the skill, like, you know, melting metal together and stuff like that. So
I'm telling
highly respect that, you know, skill.
There's something fun about taking a piece of metal, heating it to 2,000 degrees, and hitting it with a hammer in a semi-liquid state until it turns into a knife. I'm just saying, it's a hell of a good time.
Amen. 10 out of 10.
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you so much. Thank you, chat. You're a bunch of wholesome degenerates. I love you.
Exactly.
You guys know that we do, and we look forward to shaking up to the shake up of the meta on Tuesday next week. And in the meantime, thanks again, Burza. Appreciate you.
Man, thank you for coming on, and thank you for reaching out to me to be on this episode. Was amazing. Was really like, once again, it was really awesome to talk to you. People are already saying that we need a podcast. Like, we need to do a podcast. Like 10 out of 10. We could talk for days.
I can me swinging a hammer, you riding a bike. It wouldn't be weird at all.
Yeah. So 10 out of 10. We could do it easy. Awesome, man.
I love it.
Take care. Everyone. Have a good one. And yeah, catch you all later next week. Bye-bye.